Good morning, YouTubers. It is bright and early on the morning of August 10th, and I haven't done a video for a while, so I wanted to do a quick one. As you can see, sunflowers have now opened, and our little bees are hard at work on them. Got a whole bunch of fun little garden updates that I'm going to walk you through here, do a little bit of harvest time, and show you how everything's growing. Hope you're having a wonderful day. So over here, the morning glories are just starting to close up. They were, if I'd been able to get out here a little earlier, they were all just going crazy. I like having them. These are all self-sown. I didn't plant these again this year. They just came up from the seeds that I kind of scattered around last year. And they're looking absolutely fantastic. I like having them. They're a fun little thing to have in the garden. Over here, the goji berries that I planted from seed are actually starting to make flowers now, which is very exciting. So I'm very intrigued to see how that works. They are growing like gangbusters, and I'm actually really pleased with how they're looking. I'm not sure what I'm going to do to help them over winter, but I want to make sure that they survive to next year. Down here, even though this plant is looking a little worse for the wear, this is actually my ground cherry. And I actually came out here and harvested a ton of these little ground cherries that have fallen on the ground. And what they look like is this. And you grab them and you pop off their little shell like this. And you just eat that, just like this. Sorry, I'm trying to get it in the focus there. But they're delicious. You just pop off the little lantern around them and pop them right in your mouth. I'm a big fan of these, I have to be honest. They're a little different. Not like anything that I've really grown before. And not really like anything I've really eaten before. A little bit tart, got a little bit of a tropical flavor. But I really like it. Cucumbers are doing great. We've been pulling a couple out of the garden every couple of days. And they're really, except for the fact that they're getting eaten up by Japanese beetles, they're really doing quite well. They were a little bit later this year. You can see I got another one up here, happily sitting up in the sun. But I did a whole bunch of different varieties this year, and it's been really fun. We're getting some small lemon cucumbers, some Indian cucumbers, you name it. Another little one over here. This is, I think, honestly, cucumbers is one of my favorite things to have growing in the garden. I just find it to be, they're just absolutely delicious. And it's one of those things that when you have tons of them, you can just keep eating them. And it's just even better every day. So tucked away in here is a little watermelon. As you can see back there, there's actually a few of them that are starting to be of decent size. This one's probably about softball size right now. I'm not sure if there are other ones tucked away in this massive watermelon over here, but I know that there's a couple that are hanging around the edge. And except for the fact that I've got a lot of weeding that still needs to get done, I'm really happy to see that plants are not being affected by the weeds, even if I am. It has been a squash bonanza around here, as you can see. We are harvesting tons of yellow squash and zucchini squash, and these plants are just absolutely enormous. It's been really dry. I actually had to water a little while ago, and so that's been great because it's been actually keeping my powdery mildew issues down. But I am having just enormous squash growth. I'll see if I can find another couple for you. So this is one thing that has been a minor annoyance. I have these little bugs that I think are little stink bugs hanging out on my some of my zucchini. Here's a nice one with none on it, but occasionally I get one like this where I pluck it off and there's all these little bugs on it, and I'm not a huge fan of that, but they don't seem to be doing any major damage, and I just kind of knock them off and wash them off, and it's all good. These down here are by far my favorite squash. These are a crookneck squash, and they are just absolutely delicious. They're an early crookneck is what they're called. I think I just got them at a cheap seed place. But Really like them, and as you can see, bees are all hard at work today. So although this area is really overgrown, as you can see, it's actually not affecting anything negatively. This is a pepper plant that I planted this year. It actually got, all the leaves got killed off by frost, but it came back up from the stem and has just turned into just a monster plant. I'm really, really happy with it. For anyone who wonders about topping peppers, I'm going to show you another pepper in just a second that is the same type as this, that was not killed off by the frost and grew back, and you're going to see it's about a quarter of the size. So this is the same version of that pepper plant that was not killed off by frost. This is about 12 inches tall with about 3 peppers on it. I am just shocked that these are the same variety. That one, just being abused at the beginning of the season, really got it off to so much of a stronger perspective. I'm just blown away. So totally recommend brutalize your pepper plants, chop them off, and watch the difference. So this guy is by far the most productive pepper plant. This is the one that I overwintered inside, and if you look in here, you can see these are, let me see if I can pull one out of here. That's a very nice hot pepper. I can clear this off of about 2 weeks ago. I cleared the entire plant off and took almost every single pepper off, and this is where it is now. There are peppers all over this thing, and I filled up a full one of the large gallon-sized Ziploc bags with peppers. I gave them all to my mother-in-law, and she was very happy. If you don't know, you can put these in the freezer if you cook with them, and they work just absolutely perfectly. You can use them right out of the freezer, and they do a fantastic job. Right here is the fig tree that I planted at the beginning of this year. It's doing really fantastic. I'm defending it from kind of the overgrowth of some of the other plants here, and I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do with it as it starts to get cooler, but stick around and we'll see if we can figure that out together. So over here is a cherry tomato plant. It's an Isis Candy cherry tomato. What I'm doing with this guy is actually topping it off at multiple points throughout the year. So I've let it kind of sprawl a little bit, but then what I've done is I've just chopped it off at the top, and that's because I don't want tons of these. Last year I had just far too many, and this is going to force the ones that are lower on here to ripen faster, and that's really what I want anyway. So that's kind of what my strategy is here. It's not the most beautiful trellising system. I usually try to be a little bit better about it, but what you gonna do? Sometimes you got what you got. You run out of time, it's a garden, it's not a house. So this mess of greenery over here is actually a couple of different things. Down underneath here, you can see that this is a turnip that's coming up underneath here. Okay, I've got a few turnips that are down here. This was actually a root crop bed, all right? But I had reused a little bit of potting soil, and now what has happened is that this ground cherry, which is right here, actually came up from seed in this area. And I've been eating ground cherries off of here, and it tells me that this thing can mature from seed in the garden. I've been told that this will self-sow, and I'm hoping that that's what's going to happen, and then I'm going to be able to get it self-sowing in a couple of key spots in the garden so that I can continue to harvest it without having to plant it every year. Over here are some tomatoes that are going to start getting harvested today. These are our Sheboygan tomatoes. They're a Amish paste style tomato from here in Wisconsin. And over here, you can see some of our heirloom, more cutting and slicing tomatoes. These have been absolutely delicious. I've got to actually look and see what the variety was for some of these, but they are getting rave reviews inside, so they're definitely winning. So this kale that I have here is from a mix that was from a, I'm gonna have to look up the name, I apologize, but it was from a seed company out on the West Coast. I want to say in near like Portland and Oregon or something like that, and they had done a cross of all of their different kales, and then they sold the seed from that, and they called it a Grex. So if you search for Grex, you might be able to find it. But this is one of those mix. It's kind of like, it looks like a mix between like a curly kale and like the Scotch blue curly kale and one of the long leafier kales, because it's got some of this curly nature to it. You can see some of them have more of a purple look and some of them have less of a purple look. But I am hoping to try to see if I can get some seeds from some of these and start propagating this particular variety, because the leaves are absolutely huge and it's growing tall, almost like a dino kale, but it's giving me the productivity of a dino kale with something that's much more like a Scotch blue curled leaf. If you can see, these are the blue curled Scotch, and this is like a dino kale here. So definitely like that version quite a bit. I don't know if I'm going to be able to propagate it and get seeds from it up here. It's a biennial, and I just don't know if I can keep it alive during the winter, but we'll see what we can do. Out here is a beautiful thing to see in the garden. This is a ladybug. I've not released any ladybugs. This ladybug is finding the garden on his own. So welcome, little ladybug. I've got a video of a butterfly I'll splice in right here. This is on one of the native plants that I have planted. I took it yesterday actually when I was out here. It was just a really pretty butterfly and I tried to capture it for you. For those of you who've been hanging out with the bare root plants, we've got blackberries that are getting ready to be, starting to be blackberries, and that's very exciting. I'm pleased that this is producing blackberries in its first year. The raspberries didn't do quite so hot. I think I only really had one that's doing semi-well and another one that's coming up, and the other two look like stumps. So I'm going to be making a phone call soon and seeing if I can get a couple raspberries for next year maybe. Letting the cilantro go to seed. That's almost to where it needs to be. And I'll walk you around and show you the currants. They're doing really, really well. So this is the black currant. It's doing fantastic, except for the fact that I think it's getting nibbled on by deer occasionally. It's doing really, really well. This is the champagne currant. It's also doing great. The smaller currant is doing well, but it's not quite as lush, obviously. And the honeyberries are doing well. Got a sunflower that kind of came up in the middle of them, and I let it go. And the honeyberries just look like they're doing fine. You know, nothing too fancy. This one's getting nibbled a little bit. It's got something going on. But overall, it's doing well. So I'm going to go ahead and harvest some vegetables from the garden. I'll shoot a quick video of that for you. Other than that, you guys have a wonderful day. So here's our little harvest for the morning. A whole bunch of nice tomatoes, some squash. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Happy gardening.